What's going on YouTube? Vinny here, bringing you a top 5 formations of FIFA 19. As you can see on the top of the screen, I've played like over 1,200 games, also played like 300 odd on the Xbox, so we're at about 1.5k games played in total on FIFA 19. So I feel like I've got a good basis now on how to actually like say what are the top 5 formations and what instructions to use on each formation. We'll start off with the 4-4-2. There's obviously two variations of this. You got the ones with centre mids and CDMs. I don't think it really matters. It just depends on your approach of the game. I would say they're basically the same formation, so that counts as one formation. I think the CDM one, if you want to be more defensive, more secure at the back, is definitely the way to go. But if you want to have that obviously attacking approach, the centre mids is obviously very good. We won't go over custom tactics. You've probably all seen, like, I've done custom tactics on most of these formations. So if you want to have a little look back of them videos, just have a look through the YouTube and you'll see. If you guys want some updated ones, no problem, I can get that done also. So we'll obviously go through the instructions, what you should probably use. You stay back on your right back and left back, mainly because you've already got the width in your team for your right mids and your left mid. So you don't really need the right back and left back giving you another option, unless you really want to go all out near the end of the game. That's obviously when you want to put balance or join the attack. But to be honest, you've got these the right mid and left mid. They're going to give you a lot of like width anyway. So yeah, I wouldn't really worry too much on that. We'll actually go straight into the left mid and the right mid after. You've got quite a lot of different instructions you can use. I personally would go with come back on defense on my right mid and left mid, just because when you want to defend, a lot of people use 4-2-3-1. So if you have the right mid and left mid coming back and supporting the right back and left back, you basically got 2v1 on their ram and lamb. So it's going to make it a lot easier for you to get that ball off him in the wide positions. So yeah, I'd recommend putting come back on defense. You can leave the chance creation on balance if it's me, to be honest, and maybe even getting behind on the right mid and left mid, so you have that direct approach once you do have the ball on them. Because sometimes, like, I think the other option is come short. So yeah, but if you got come back on defense, you want them right mid and left mid sort of going straight away. So unless you want to play possession, obviously, then you probably you just use balance, I would say, and then you can obviously manually make them run by using L1 or LB depending. Oh no, yeah, L1 or LB depending on what console you're on. But yeah, I would say getting behind. Then you got the centre mids. I say like stay back. It's always the safe options. I think everyone does it on their centre mids, CDMs, no matter what formation really. Definitely recommend having stay back on these, and then cover centre, of course, because obviously you've got the right back, left back covering the width, and then obviously, as I've mentioned, you've got the right mid and left mid coming back. So then you don't really need them to worry about covering the wings. Have them through the middle so you can block out all their cams or striker runs. It'd be a very effective formation. But the strikers, I think this is where you can see a lot of changes depending on how people want to play. Or just how they want their attackers to approach. I honestly am still experimenting with the strikers, so I'm not really too sure how I want it, because I've used a lot on balance like how it is now, and they give you a really good option now and then. But sometimes because I use 4-2-3-1 a lot, my striker sometimes goes as the cam, and then the cam swaps with the striker. I don't really want that, because if I've got Ronaldo, his passing isn't going to be the greatest. So it's a hard one. Getting behind is obviously a fan favourite. I would say everyone's always used that. I don't even think it's worth using stay forward on the two strikers when you've got two up top, because if you have them on balance, one of them will help, like when you're trying to get the ball from your centre mids to your attack, which is very useful. If you have stay forward, the gaps are very big, and you've got to try and unless you've got like the meta centre mid, so that would be Vieira and Hullet. I don't really think anyone else can really do it as well as them, of course, being the best players in the game. But you want that gap to be very close, and because if you haven't got them players, like the centre mids ain't going to really be able to drive the ball through the middle and help give you that extra option. Unless you attack through the width, then it's a completely different story. So yeah, I would say that is it for the 4-4-2. Let's go on to the next formation. This isn't in any order because, well, yeah, I think these all formations are all usable, and I think they're all effective in their own way. So as the 4 formation, we've got the 4-1-2-1-2. The second variation, this is obviously for the people who like to just blitz it and go guns blazing against people, have like tiki-taka football through the middle and just getting goals. You know, that's what this formation is all about, having fun. I think this formation is like the most fun to use because you have such like, if you're good at passing as well, you can just do like triangles everywhere. It's definitely a top formation for that. So we'll look at the custom tactics. Obviously, you actually do have another variation of the 4-1-2-1-2. It's the 4-3-1-2. Comes down to preference once again, as the 4-4-2 did. If you want to have the CDM or you want to have a centre mid, I've always gone with the CDM. I think it's just something I've used since like day one. Once I've seen this formation, so I recommend just, well, I don't recommend. That's the one I use. Is the one with the CDM. Just think it gives me more cover in the defence. I think then like one of my midfielders always like thinking about defending, which is also crucial. So as I mentioned with the 4-4-2, you've already got the natural width within the attack. So unless you do something with the strikers, which is drift wide, you're going to need width in your attack in some sort of way. So balance on your right back and left back is very useful, but there is a downfall of it. If you play somebody who's very countering and plays down the wing, you're going to need them to be stay back, because otherwise you're just going to get countered non-stop. So definitely you either use stay back or cover centre. Not stay back or cover centre. Stay back and or balanced. I've used a bit of both. I think I prefer stay back, and then I just put like overlap on the run types, and then I just make them run when I need them to run. But as I said, you could just put drift wide on the strikers, and then you'll get natural width from them type of runs, and it will give like more space in the middle for your midfield. Then you got the CDM. You've obviously got a lot of options. Personally, keep it as balanced as the defensive behaviour, because sometimes if they're cut past in lanes, sometimes they wander off. If they're man-marked, they're too central. Sometimes you need them to be able to press early. So I think balance is the best of both. Obviously, cover centre for that centre one, especially because that is your main vocal player in the midfield, holding the team down. Like, he's your spine of your team, really. So I definitely recommend having cover centre on him. Centre mids, I only changed 2 things on this when I do use it. I actually do use stay back on all of the CDMs and the 2 centre mids, mainly because I can't, like, my defensive approach with this formation's like very, I'm gonna get in your face and try and press you. So if I have stay back, it allows me, like, the team to be set up a little bit more structured, and doesn't make me press as much as I probably should. I don't need to even. So yeah, I have stay back on that, and I even use cover wing on the right centre mid and the left centre mid. But this obviously changes depending like what type of player you're playing. If you're using somebody who's playing very wide, obviously cover wing is better. But if you're playing somebody very central, cover centre on them, then you've got easy blocks really coming through the middle, because you've got 3 like centre mids just blocking all sort of like first time finesses, because they're naturally set up. Obviously the cam, I think it's always been like what people use is stay forward on the cam. I don't think anyone really changes anything too much on the cam. Stay forward, I think that's been a thing since probably like, I don't even want to say it. It's been around for a few years, and everyone's always just put stay forward. Just so you have that a guy as your vocal attack really. He's the main guy who's going to make everything tick in attack. So that's your probably most important. I would say your CDM and your cam is probably one of your most important players in this formation. And then you've got obviously the attackers. Like I mentioned, drift wide if you want to have a little bit more natural width. If you don't, if you want to play very narrow, you can play stay central. I would even just recommend just keep it on balance. Then you have a bit of everything, but all depends what type of approach you want to go with. Getting behind on these, I think, is the way forward, because this formation, as I mentioned, is very tick-attack and you just want to go. If you have getting behind on them, they're going to stretch the defence and allow more space in the middle for you to do like 1-2s around them. So definitely recommend having getting behind on this formation. As I mentioned, I wouldn't say you stay forward. It just leaves too much of a gap between the defence, midfield and attack. I just recommend just keep it on balance, get a bit of everything. As we go into the third formation, we will use, I would say, the 4-3-2. No other variation of this one this year. or any year really. It does play a lot like 4-4-2 though, I have to admit, but sometimes it comes a lot tighter with the cams obviously being more closed in rather than a right mid and a left mid. So I definitely recommend using the 4-2-2 if you're if you're like the shape of 4-4-2 but you want it to be a little bit more compact, then I would recommend using the 4-2-2. This is like, I think, quite a popular formation in a country like Germany. I see a lot of German pros use the 4-2-2. As we go into the instructions, this is see, 4-2-2 for me is a weird one. I've used it a little bit this year. I don't really know to use balance or stay back. I really do think if you want the right cam, left cam to come in close, use them on balance, because then they give you the width. But if you don't, just put them on stay back. As I mentioned, obviously you've got people who abuse the wing play, so put stay back, make sure you're covered on that basis. CDMs, cover centre, of course, as I mentioned, you've got the right cam and the left cam. They will naturally come to the right side of the pitch and the left side of the pitch, so you can easily drag them back to give you extra support on the right and the left. So I say put cover centre on the CDMs to make sure they're covering everything. And even sometimes when I play with 2 CDMs, I do like putting passing lane, because I feel like with 2 CDMs, it's a lot easier to control where they're cutting, like what lanes they're cutting, basically. With 1 CDM, it's a lot harder, as I mentioned before, 1-2-1-2. So it comes down to preference once again, but I say it is viable. Cams, I usually leave as balanced or get in the box for crosses. Mainly because sometimes, like when I'm running down the right, like say if I've done like a one, let's say I've done it into the CDM, I've done a 1-2 from the striker to the cam, and the cam's done the run down the right, and then I play the right cam through. A lot of the times, like you'll see the left cam or the left striker running, but their actual run isn't very direct into the box. Sometimes they stop. So if you get in the box for the crosses, they just naturally just go for it no matter what. Usually, so as long as the game's not just being against you. So yeah, it's depending if you cross it a lot, I do recommend using it. Strikers, obviously, as I mentioned before, with the 4-2-2, I don't even think it's worth changing anything like the 4-4-2. I think just keeping it all on balance, maybe even getting behind, obviously it comes down to preference, but just having them on balance, just letting them be the like sort of target man, and maybe you can have like one as a target man sort of approach, and then one as like spinning off like little and large. A lot of people obviously doing their attack like a Lukaku and a, I don't know, like a Jesus, I don't know, like you get the point. One quick guy, one tall guy. So yeah, definitely a good formation, the 4-2-2. Used it a lot this year. This formation, 4-2-3-1, is the 2 formations I really like, have tried against other pros, and I've had success with it. Next formation, number 2. As I said, it's no order, but this is definitely the best formation this year, hands down. I said there's no order because I don't really know how to order the other 4, but this formation is definitely the best formation in this game. There's no question about it. If you look at every esport event this year in FIFA, everyone's basically used the 4-2-3-1 just because it's so balanced, so good this year, just because how the game plays. Obviously, we know the game's very cheesy. It's a lot of like first-time finesses and whatnot, but it's definitely the best formation this year. It's by a mile. Obviously, you got 2 variations this. You got the ones with the left mid and right mid. If you want to be super defensive, I recommend using that. I say it's a really good formation for like the last 10 minutes maybe. But this formation is the key. I don't even think you need to change at times because it's just so good, like all over the pitch. So stay back on the right back and left back, nothing different. As I mentioned, like we got the width anyway from the right cam and the left cam. We don't need them to be joining them because we got a cam in the middle, and then it's very simple. If you use the 4-2-3-1, you understand. Once again, stay backs, cover centre on the CDMs. As I mentioned, it's like the basic go-to on all central players this year. So definitely use cover centre and stay back. Cams, I'm still like trying a lot of things out. I've used stay forward just on the central cam. I've used stay forward on all the cams in the striker. But it really depends how you want to play. Like, if you want to be like very counter-attack, I do recommend using stay forward on all of them, and then using them like if you want to defend with your cams, though, you're going to have to manually bring them back and defend with them. So there's a risk to it, but you can press very good with it, but it's super effective as well. So it all comes down to preference. I know a lot of people just use balance, and then, as I mentioned, use getting bots for crosses on the ram and lamp, so you have that extra runner on the far and crossing it into basically a goal every time. So yeah, I would say that's basically it for the cams. And then the striker, I would say getting behind, you've got a lone striker, so you sort of want them to be the guy stretching the opponent's team and then allowing the cams to do the work through the middle, and wherever you want to attack, really, giving them space through their final third, and just basically doing 1-2s and finding that finesse. You know, that's how basically this game's played. Wouldn't say, well, stay forward you could use on 4-2-3-1 with a lone striker, but I wouldn't really recommend it too much. I would just say keep it balanced. Even if you want, you can put stay central if you want to keep him quite, you know where he's always going to be if he's through the middle. But most of the time I just use it on balance and get him behind. But yeah, I think that's it with the 4-2-3-1. It's definitely the best formation this year, hands down. There's not even like a question about it. And then I'd say the fifth formation for me is the 4-3-3-4. There was a stint in Foot Champs I was using the 4-3-3-4. It's a high risk formation because it's super like attacking, and you're going to get countered a lot, but it's so good in attack. It's like quite hard to like look away from it, really. So I do recommend using the 4-3-3-4 if you want to be a very attacking team. Even if you're losing, it's a good formation to use to bring back results. As you might have seen, I have done a custom tactic video when I was using this, so definitely recommend it if you want to use this formation. As I mentioned, stay back on the right back and left back. As always, we've got the width naturally, so we don't need them to be joining the attack. We let them just focus on defending. As I did say, like with this formation, it is very vital that these are on stay back because it's so attacking. Centre mids, definitely stay back and cover centre. You need just I don't know, it's weird. Like you would think having them stay back, they're gonna like be back, but they just don't. Even worth, as you might have just saw, I popped on interceptions, put it on the conservative, yeah, interceptions, just so it's a little bit more, they're not as aggressive in the, like, defending in the opponent's half. They're just very smart and just waiting for the right opportunity. If you don't want to use that, that's obviously normal. Just keep it as normal. Don't put aggressive on them, because otherwise you're going to see them flying forward and then they're just going to have a gap in between behind your team. And then you've got the cam. I'll say keep them basic. I see a lot of people put stay forward on the cam, but I honestly do believe you need like every bit of support in the defence with this one. So if you have balance, he could be like your vocal pass out. Once you've got the ball, you go to your centre mid and then to your cam, and then you play with the front three. So yeah. And then in the right wing, you've got a lot of options. I do recommend having like cut inside and getting behind, maybe, or just getting behind. It all depends on preference. If you don't want them to be coming in, you just want to keep the width and then just have getting behind. But I definitely recommend this, having cutting inside, especially as I mentioned, the finesses are so overpowered this year. If you do the 1-2s with like your striker, easy finesse, because they come into a natural like inside position rather than a wide one. Yeah, you probably score if they don't move the keeper. Striker, I think either get him behind or just keep him basic. Maybe even have stay forward on this one, as you've got the cam who's going to be quite like close to him. So if you have stay forward, he gives you another like further forward position, because then you've got the right wing and left wing from the cam. But yeah, I definitely recommend this formation if you want to be quite attacking. I think the 4-2-3-1 is like quite a balanced formation, but this formation like sort of takes it up one notch if you want to be a more attacking 4-2-3-1. But yeah, that'd be it for the video, guys. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, comment, whatever you like. Hope it's helped you out when you decide your formations as well. And peace.